Okay. Hi. Thanks.
Morning, everyone. My name is Chege. I'm the network manager for KENET, Kenya Education Network. I'm happy to be here on the John Postel Scholarship. I'm very honored. I'll take you through the impact of undersea capacity in East Africa. I'll focus mainly on Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. That's where the cables have had impact or have been connected recently. So I'll explain how it was in 2009 before the cables landed and what the connectivity is right now, and also what it may look like before the end of the year and also in the future. And I'll update you on the status of the RENs in East Africa. I work in one of the RENs and I have information from our partners in the other RENs. And I'll also mention a bit on UbuntuNet, and I'll take a few questions if there are any. So connectivity before 2009, it was all satellite connectivity, very expensive, $2,000 per meg up to $7,000. For some, for example, in Tanzania, it was as high as $12,000 per megabit. In-country fiber was available, but also very expensive. This is local loop capacity. In Kenya, there was only one strong PDNO, that stands for Public Data Network Operator. That's the terminology we use to describe an operator who's allowed to dig and build his own infrastructure. In Uganda, that's UTL, that's Uganda Telecom. And Tanzania, there was a combination of a power company called TANESCO and TTCL. TTCL standing for Tanzania Telecommunications Company. So in 2009, the news was the cables are coming, but many in the region were skeptical because each time the dates for the arrival of the cables would change. So one date, for example, will be it's coming in June, another date will be coming in August, in September 2009. So people are not really sure it's going to happen. 3 cables on the way were SEACOM, Teams, and EASSY. SEACOM was to connect East Africa to London via Marseille in France. Teams was just to connect Kenya to Fujairah. And EASSY was focusing on inter-Africa connectivity, which was landing on 9 points along the eastern border of Africa. That diagram shows the SEACOM cable route, starting from the bottom there, South Africa, Mtunzini, coming up to Maputo, all the way up to Marseille. There's a section there that was not complete until around June this year, June 2010. The section that passes through Egypt and the Suez Canal, that was not complete. So when the cable activated, traffic would go to Mumbai, get aggregated there, and then be shipped back to Marseille. That is the path for the EASSY cable, landing on the 9 points, starting from Mtunzini in South Africa, all the way up to Port Sudan, and connecting a number of ports along the way. And the orange cable there is the Teams cable. That's just directly from Mombasa. That's a port in Mombasa all the way up to Fujairah in UAE. So which cables are completed? In 2009, SEACOM reached. That was June 2009. And a month afterwards, July 2009, Teams also landed at Mombasa. SEACOM was Mombasa to Mumbai to Marseille and then to London, and Teams from Kenya to Fujairah. In Kenya, there's a lot of excitement because people are anticipating a large or a huge drop in the bandwidth prices because, as you saw from the earlier slides, internet connectivity was really, really expensive. SEACOM was more favored initially because, one, they landed fast, and second, they landed in Europe where IP transit prices were much, much cheaper. IP transit for us, the prices we got at KENET was for 1 megabit, we were getting between $5 and $10 US. But in Fujairah in UAE, where the Teams cable was passing, IP transit was between $80 and $90 per megabit. So SEACOM was favored because of the price and also because they landed fast. So Teams, as I just said, was more expensive because of the monopoly prices in UAE. Also Teams, the ownership for Teams was by a number of ISPs in the country, large and small. Some of the small ones were unable to pay up on time, and there are some legal issues getting Teams going, so it took some time to take on, but right now Teams is active and a number of ISPs are using it. So as at the end of 2009, SEACOM and Teams are ready. In SEACOM being heavily used, Teams also being used a bit. EASSY still in progress as at the end of 2009, but now it is complete in 2010. SEACOM fiber capacity was available in Uganda also. Uganda being landlocked, they were being served through Kenya. In Tanzania, SEACOM also available through TTCL. That is the Tanzania Telecommunication Limited Company. Rwanda also served by SEACOM via RTL from September 2009. So current connectivity 2010. In Uganda, there is undersea capacity and a bit of redundancy. They still maintain VSAT for backup, although right now there is also some Teams capacity that is available through a number of other ISPs. Traffic is passing via Kenya, and stiff competition in Kenya sometimes leads to inter-ISP sabotage, and Uganda and Rwanda unfortunately suffer. I'll explain the market as it is in Kenya. It's a bit, there's a lot of vandalism that goes on and a lot of sabotage. And the route for Uganda passes through Kenya and ends up in, the route in Kenya starts in Mombasa and goes all the way up to a border there in Kisumu, then crosses into Uganda. So this diagram shows what the fiber route for SEACOM all the way to Uganda looks like. This diagram is from RENU, that's the Research Education Network of Uganda, but it basically shows how the SEACOM cable passes. It's the same route. That path follows the main road between Mombasa and all the way to Uganda, and that's how the path, that's what the fiber path is. Currently, Kenya is the best served in terms of bandwidth and reach of the three countries. Prices have reduced, but not to expected levels because ISPs still have internet contracts, satellite contracts. Now, as I mentioned earlier, connectivity, people are skeptical as to whether undersea capacity was coming or not. So, for example, KENET, we are still tied to a satellite contract for another, at least until the end of next year. Sorry, until the beginning of next year, sorry, until the first quarter of next year. And that's what's keeping the prices up at the moment. Best current price per megabit is around $120 per meg with a buy one, get four arrangement. That means if you buy 1 megabit, you get 4 megabits. And I'll explain why that's the case with the price. Two things. When undersea capacity came, prices dropped from about $2,000 to around an average of between $500 and $600. Now, most companies that were using internet capacity, the first thing they wanted to do when the prices dropped was to reduce their budgets. So, for example, if you were buying 1 meg at $2,000, you want to reduce your budget to $500 because that's the price of 1 meg. But the ISPs didn't want that to happen because that would ruin their inflows and their cash flows. So what they decided to do is to tell customers, okay, fine, you're paying for $2,000, you'll maintain that same amount. But now I'll add the bandwidth you're using to 4 meg or whatever the equivalent was at the time. Also, another reason for the buy one, get four offer was there was not a lot of uptake in the beginning because the undersea capacity came sooner than most of the people in the country were expecting. So when ISPs activated 10 gig and STM64s, the usage was not as high as was expected. So an ISP, for example, I talked to some friends in the ISPs, they activated a 10 gig, but they were only seeing usage of about 2 gig. So in order to stimulate capacity, they said, okay, fine, since we've activated all these undersea capacity, why not just let people use it, get them hooked on the bandwidth, and then increase the price later. So, as I said, the main reason why the absorption was really slow is in-country infrastructure is not that good. It's being improved at the moment, but at the time the fiber landed, it was not really doing well. Also, the ISP market is highly competitive in Kenya. There is a lot of vandalism, and the vandalism is twofold. There's vandalism from thieves. For example, they want to steal the copper. So they dig up and they find this cable and they think it's copper, cut it up, but they find out it's not copper. But by that time, the damage has been done. And there's vandalism in terms of inter-ISPs and all that. So it's a case where ISP A knows the cable passing here belongs to ISP B, and they intentionally cut that cable. So in Tanzania, SEACOM capacity is available via TTCL as of 2009. No other planned cables apart from EASSY, which activated later on in mid-2010, actually July 2010. Let me just also add something on the vandalism in Kenya to give you figures. One ISP reported that as of the end of 2009, vandalism costed them $31 million for the year. So EASSY design, that's the cable route for EASSY, East Africa. So there'll be landing points in Mombasa and Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and then go around through to Uganda and then come out again through Tanzania, and that will be the loop. They say they have finished this. I'm not exactly sure how much of this has actually been done. I don't know whether they mean it's complete in terms of they've completed at the landing stations along the port, or whether they've completed the internals. It's not clear, but I don't think anyone else, I don't think there are people using the EASSY cable yet, but I think coming soon, these cables will come into use. That's just another diagram showing the EASSY cable route in Africa and how the infrastructure passes through the various countries. Now I'll give you an update on the NRENs in the region and their connectivity, especially since after the undersea capacity came up. RENU, Research Education Network of Uganda, is currently not active. It's participating in a project with IEF to acquire undersea capacity at 10 gig. The price right now in Uganda for 1 meg has dropped to $700 per meg. That's from the 2,000 to 3,000 US dollars that they had earlier in the year before undersea capacity. They've also partnered with UTL, that's the Uganda Telecom Limited, to use its existing infrastructure to reach member universities. Equipment was to be provided by USAID, but that has not happened yet. So Uganda have gone through their own, they've tried to do something on their own and get their own equipment and get something going. They don't have permanent staff as yet, so there's a number of volunteers from a number of universities who have stepped up and are volunteering to offer services. They do have an ASN and IP space, an ASN and IP address space from Afrinic, which they are ready to use once their connectivity becomes live. Our Telnet is also not active, but the SEACOM cable is at the University of Dar es Salaam. A number of delays because of the acquiring of equipment. They've not really acquired equipment yet, and it took a bit of time. But I spoke to my friends in Tanzania, and they're almost ready to start. They're now in the procurement stage of acquiring the equipment to terminate undersea capacity. Tanzania prices have dropped from the $5,000, $12,000 range, and right now it's about $800 per meg. It's a price you can negotiate down if you're buying bulk capacity in Tanzania. In Kenya, we have KENET, for example, which we've had undersea capacity from 28th of January this year. This is our own cable in terms of which we purchased this cable ourselves. We got an NREN price for SEACOM. The NREN price for STM1 IRU is $500,000 US for cable lifetime of 20 years. If you're coming in as a commercial entity, the price you get from SEACOM is about between 3.5 and 3.7 million US dollars per STM1 for cable lifetime. So coming as a REN, you can get a lower price, but they do tie you to a very strict acceptable use policy. KENET, we've been active for a number of years. We've grown from lease line copper to fiber. Because we were able to purchase capacity in bulk, point-to-point local loop, we got a good price of $16 per 10 meg for the local loop capacity. Right now we've connected about 77 connected sites, mostly on fiber, and we do have a lot of support from the universities. We enjoy massive hosting capacity from universities. We made a big leap from VSAT to fiber, so we sort of skipped a stage in evolution there. With this, because I mentioned, also tied back to because the universities didn't really believe, and also KENET and also the market in Kenya, we didn't really believe undersea capacity was coming. The internal networks inside the universities is not that good at the moment. And that's something we're trying to improve because we are seeing big universities that we are expecting to do 20, 30, maybe 70 meg of usage. You're only seeing 10 megabits. So we're trying to improve the internal infrastructure. we distributed switches that were donated by the Network Startup Resource Center, the NSRC, to help mitigate with this, and this was quite successful. Because what we noticed was, if you go to a university network, if you're very near the edge of the network, like near the router, the speeds there are okay, but if you move deeper down into the network, the access speeds there are not that good. Campuses still poorly designed, so we did some trainings with University of Oregon and NSRC guys in March of this year, and that sort of helped things, got things a bit better inside the campuses. We ran a training program and mailing list called Bandwidth Management and Optimisation, and it's grown to include members in Malawi, Zambia, Sudan, and other countries. We focus on teaching net admins to monitor and manage their networks, because one thing we were expecting to see was more, with the coming in of undersea capacity, we're expecting to see more and more and more usage, and we thought the problem of slow speeds and slow access speeds had been sorted out, but that was not the case. So we're trying to train our admins how to manage the capacity they have, because the scenario that is right now is a university, say they have 20 megabits per second, 2 or 3 students coming, activate BitTorrent clients, those 3 users take the whole traffic. So we're trying to help them at least troubleshoot those problems and solve them out. Even more on KENET, we use lease lines to reach our members. We got a government donation to use Teams capacity, STM4 Fujairah. We've not activated this at the moment because of the high prices at Fujairah, but we think we'll be able to get this going by first quarter of 2011. We have 200 megabits VSAT until 2011, but we will retain some capacity for redundancy. We did manage to swap these 200 megabits. So we have right now 100 megabits on satellite, and then the equivalent 100 megabits on SEACOM capacity, which turned out to be 350 megabits per second. So a bit on the KENET network, we have IPv4 and IPv6, although we've not started IPv6 yet. We are moving to migrate our network because in order to use IPv6, we'll have to move to bind first. We were using DJB DNS. We want to move to bind first. That means migrating about 350 zones. That's currently being done. The network was not really well done, but now we've moved into a combination of BGP and OSPF, and that's improved things a lot in terms of the management side. That diagram shows the fiber, the local loop fiber in the country. The red is the government-owned fiber. It's called National Optic Fiber Backbone Cable. That connects, that passes through most of the country. And the government said they will give the REN like free access to that cable, maybe a free pair on that cable. So that's what we're looking for. But we would have to dig the last mile to get onto that cable. That's a diagram of what our network looks like right now. We have sort of the edge layer, core layer, and distribution layer. We have a direct link to London, London UbuntuNet at 155 meg, and then 350 meg on Undersea SEACOM, and a bit of satellite that we are retaining. That picture shows sort of the path. We have what we call points of presence in various parts of the country. Our main point of presence is in Mombasa, although our main point of presence is in Nairobi, but we do have several points of presence across the country. And the Mombasa POP that you see over there, that's what's going to receive the Teams cable if we do manage to activate that in the first quarter of next year. So conclusion, NREN, the Uganda NREN could activate soon. Tanzania also would activate soon, probably before the end of the year. It's difficult to say. KENET could function as a regional NREN. If that is the case, if that's a necessity, we could be able to do that. National backbones are being dug in the countries and will be completed soon, and the NRENs are going to benefit from that. That diagram shows if all the NRENs in Africa come up. I should mention that currently the only active NRENs that are passing traffic and switching packets are in South Africa, which is TENET, and Kenya, which is KENET. The others are coming up. If they do activate, that's what the network would look like, and that's the design of the what we think the NRENs interconnected would look like. So in closing, I just want to say the main impact that the undersea capacity has had is that it's driven usage much, much higher than it was before. We've moved in about 12 months, we've moved from having 200 megabits of satellite to a combination of 500 megabits of undersea capacity and another 100 megabits capacity on satellite. And currently that's not enough. We have a lot of users asking for more and more capacity. And also the number of, our top traffic right now is Google and Facebook traffic and Akamai traffic. We are talking to Google to see whether we can sort of host a Google cache and improve the capacity for the Google traffic. Google estimate that the traffic they see from Kenya in terms of Google traffic is 0.5 gig, about 500 meg. And they think by hosting a cache that will improve the capacity in the region and sort of improve the Google access speeds in that country. So that we're looking to see if we can host the Google cache. We also want to talk to Akamai to see if they can come in, but Akamai, I understand, don't have presence in Africa, and we're trying to see what we can do and try and see if we can get Akamai to come in. Also, we have come across a number of challenges in terms of improving monitoring, because with monitoring 100 meg, we were able to do it with the infrastructure we have with open source tools, but with the increase right now, we are seeing a lot of flows. We're seeing almost one gig of capacity coming by the end of next year. We run mostly open source tools for monitoring our traffic, and we are looking at commercial boxes that can do net flow monitoring and all that. So I'd be happy to hear any suggestions of anything you guys may have in terms of good net flow processing tools. Okay, thank you. I'll take any questions that there are right now.
Hi, I'm Martin Hannigan with Akamai Technologies, and I heard you mention that you're talking to Google about caching and whatnot. You should talk to us as well. Thanks.
Okay, we'll think about that.
Hi, Steve Gibbard. Thanks for the presentation. This was really fascinating. It's been a couple of years since I was doing a lot of looking at connectivity in Africa, and it looks like you guys have made a lot of progress on it. I'm wondering if you have any numbers at this point on what % of your traffic is using the international links and what % is local within Kenya or within East Africa.
Okay. In terms of the REN, what we are seeing is 95% of the traffic is commodity traffic. We're talking Google, Facebook, that type of traffic, BitTorrent and all that, because in terms of what's left in the country right now, it's not that much. We have a link to the Kenya Internet Exchange Point, and we see traffic in a day about 5 megabits per second compared to the 500 megabits per second that's on the other side, the commodity traffic. So right now, all usage, it's all commodity traffic at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Babak Pazdar, Bat Blue. I was recently in South Africa, and we were doing some work with regard to the World Cup, and there was a lot of infrastructure that was laid into South Africa, especially in and out of South Africa, to be able to facilitate World Cup infrastructure. Have you guys been trying to leverage that in any way in terms of benefiting from that?
From the, you mean like from the World Cup that we just passed?
Well, from the infrastructure that was laid into the World Cup, because we had over 300 megabits back to the U.S. From South Africa to be able to conduct our traffic and things like that.
Well, what we saw during the time was we didn't see, I wouldn't say the capacity being built was specifically because of the World Cup. Right now, if you come to Kenya, there is a lot of digging going on in terms of two things. One, there's a lot of road construction going on. The highways, if you go to the main highways, there's a lot of digging going on. And also the ISPs in the country are building internal fiber because everyone wants to own their own fiber. So I would say I talked to the SEACOM guys in Kenya, and I visited the SEACOM landing station in Mombasa. Actually, the traffic for South Africa comes to Kenya first and then is sort of aggregated and it goes out. So it doesn't go from Mtunzini to Europe. It goes Mtunzini, then I think Mombasa, then all the way up to Marseille. So In terms of the infrastructure being built right now, it's mainly because ISPs want to own their own infrastructure and build their own infrastructure, especially in the capital city, Nairobi.
Was there any kind of collaboration being done with South Africa, Botswana, those areas? Because it seems like your focus is mainly around Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Yeah. Is there any kind of collaboration happening within the other African countries?
Not that I know of. In terms of South Africa down there, I wouldn't be sure what they're doing with, say, for example, the neighbors around there. I'm mostly focused on what's happening in the East African region, because South Africa has had undersea capacity for some time now with the SAT-3 cable. I think that was from early 2005, I think, that time. So I didn't focus much on them. I just focused on the impact of what landed in 2009. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kevin. That was certainly very interesting.